After the pain, after the rain, after the shame, you will live again, you will dream again, you will breathe again, you will live again, dream again. Breathe again. Oh.
Hello, and welcome to Breathe Again Radio Show, the podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Cleveland. Today, my special guest is Regina Jones. Regina was married for over 20 years. She had to completely rebuild her life after her divorce. Starting over with 5 kids, it was challenging, but with God on her side, she got it done. Sit back, listen to the show, and share it with a friend. All right, Regina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
You are more than welcome. Well, look, did I say it right? Is it Regina or is it Regina?
Regina is absolutely fine. It works perfectly.
Awesome. Okay. So you understand that. Well, first of all, shout out to MMC, Coach Glenn and Coach Cherie.
Absolutely.
That's how we met. And so I'm just blessed that I'm able to connect with so many wonderful individuals, such as yourself. And when I put the call out there in regards to wanting to interview someone that has started over after divorce, you reached out. So thank you so much for reaching out, because it really is about ministry, and it really is about that next person that's going through and the next person that will feel the pain that you felt. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
So Regina, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? If you had to describe yourself, how would you do it?
So I'm a Southern girl, born and raised in Georgia, and mother of 5. I now have 2 bonus kids, so I would say a mother of 7. I am remarried. I have been in public service as far as my secular job. I've been in public service, active duty military for 13 years, and then still supporting the government. So I've been government for about 32 years, and a church girl, born and raised in a church. My mother was a pastor, so I'm a PK.
All right now.
Yes, and just loving life, even through the difficult times. And so I would say the essence of who Regina Jones is a person that's trying to live life like it's golden, trying to learn from challenges, learning from missteps, and encouraging others along the way.
I love it. That's a good bio. That's a real good bio. So Regina, I'm starting over after divorce. So how long were you married?
I was married for 20 years.
20 years.
I was married for 20 years, yes.
And you had
a little over 20, actually.
And you had to learn how to start over, and you had to learn how to do it basically alone. That's tough. I know people get divorced every day, and breakups happen every day. But when you do life for 20 years and you have to start all the way over, that's tough. Like, what was the first thing that you thought of when you said, Lord Jesus, what I'm about to do, Lord?
Right. Such a great question, Nicole. I went through many iterations, many emotions, many thought processes, from the initial thought of when things started going wrong, for me saying that I'm not going to take this, and I would like for my marriage to be over, to having counsel from people that said, try another way. So maybe you can work it out. Maybe there is a possibility. Maybe there is hope. And to walk the pathway of having the hope of hope, if you will,
Hmm.
and trying to humble myself, because it takes being humble. It takes swallowing your pride to go and say that although I don't feel that I was wrong, I would still like to try to walk this out, to possibly try to work this out, to come into a place where you're seeing that that won't be the case and accepting it. A lot of my time was spent by the water with God,
Mm.
and telling God, this is what I desire. This is what I desire.
Mhm.
And he asked me to try again. And he asked me to try again. And the scripture about David, when David said, when he said he prayed and asked the Lord to not allow his child to die.
Mm.
And God said, not so.
My.
This is the path. And so I had to wash my hands of it and give it to God and start. That was truly the beginning of starting to walk the path.
Yeah. Many days and nights with God, right?
Yes.
Holding your hand and walking you through the process. Regina, you said something about basically hope, and there was really no hope, and you were expecting hope, basically. And women stay, especially us in the church, right? We try it over and over and over again, and we forgive and we forgive and we forgive, because we think that, well, we know that's what we're supposed to do. We are supposed to forgive because we have been forgiven, right? But do you think that we stay too long?
That's a great question again. I think that we have to be sensitive to what it is that God is showing us. One of my prayers used to be, because sometimes God speaks to me in dreams, and I would have several dreams of, and I'm not trying to be spooky or anything
Oh,
when I say
absolutely
this,
not. No.
but I would have dreams about snakes surrounding me, um, or surrounding my marriage bed. Here's the kicker. And I would go to my then husband and say, I'm having these dreams and God is showing me something.
Mm-hmm.
Not recognizing that he was what God was showing me. And so I believe that sometimes we do stay possibly too long, but I believe that it's all depending on what we're going through. What is your discernment like? What are you listening to, and knowing when to move, when it's time to move,
Mm-hmm.
or allowing the scales from your eyes to be open in order to make the decision whether to move on or stay.
Yeah. I think a lot of women, and I minister to women all the time, and a lot of it is once they do decide to move forward, or they battle with that whole forgiveness process of themselves. I battle with not forgiving myself for overlooking, for not seeing what God was showing me, but wanting to see what I wanted to see. Right? Wanting to see the good. And so women out here are struggling, they're hurting, and we need to be the hands and feet of Jesus. We need to be that direction to assist them and to help them through this process. And I look at things so vividly. I see them so vividly in regards to women and what they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and the struggle that we go through, even after years and years and years of moving on, you still will have a trigger. Did that happen to you, Regina?
Did it? Does it
Mhm.
still?
Say that. Mhm.
Does it still happen? I love, yes, it absolutely still happens. And I think it's part of just having that awareness. You first talked about forgiving ourselves,
Mhm.
forgiving ourselves for overlooking, forgiving ourselves for what we call ourselves being stupid. But one of the things that I had to learn Nicole, is forgiving myself for not having the courage to speak up.
That's good. That's good, Regina.
Being able to speak up and say, this doesn't look right, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But absolutely, I believe that there are triggers, and I am remarried. I've been married now. I'm not going to say I took some time off, like I'm in between jobs, but there was a time period between being remarried. But what I find now is that the Lord has given me the courage to say when things don't feel right.
Yeah.
So now I may share with my husband. Now I may say, this is a trigger because in my past, this is what happened. I'm not saying that this is what you're doing, but this is how I feel when it happens. And I need to be able to verbalize with that to you. And what that does, it takes the tension off of me, allows me to release it. And I can say it to my now husband respectfully in a way that he doesn't think that I'm trying to bring old baggage into a new relationship, but an awareness of me. And that's something that I didn't hold on to. I didn't explore. I didn't allow myself to be in the first marriage. And the journey of divorce and those lessons have allowed me to find my voice.
That's good. That's real good. I'm so glad that you found your voice. Take me back, Regina. Take me back to when you decided that, okay, I can't stay stuck. I need to move forward. What were the first steps that you took to say, I have to move from point A to point B, and then from point B to point C, and then D, E, F, G? What were those steps?
So I would say that my initial counsel that I received early on was a friend of mine, my then first lady at the church. She told me that if this is what you're going to do, nobody else will be able to walk this out for you. And
That's right.
and I love that counsel because she was sharing with me that people can surround you and they can support you in your decision. But at the end of the day, you have to walk this out, Regina. Nobody else is going to be there.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, my journey the catalyst initially began with me being angry with God.
Thank you for your truth. Thank you for your truth.
Yes, I was so angry because I told him, look, dude, because this is how I talk to God.
That's right. That's right.
I said, look, dude, you were supposed to be my knight in shining armor, and you let this happen to me. You allowed this to happen to me. So now that it's happened, where are you? So Nicole, every time a ambulance would go down the street, I was like, oh, you going to get them. You going to get them. You're going to take care of my lightweight. You're supposed to do this. And at the time, my ex-husband was allowed to come into the house to pick up the kids. And Nicole, I remember one day when he came over and I looked at my block of knives. You know, you have the really nice block of knives sitting on the counter. And I remember thinking to myself, I could slice your neck in 2 seconds.
My.
And you'd never know it was coming.
Yeah.
When they left, he left with the children, and I sat there, was washing dishes, and God spoke to me and said, that is my child too.
That's right. I've had those conversations.
And when he said that to me, it was all I could say to him was that you're right. And I kept washing the dishes. And from that point on, I took my ex-husband out of my mouth and began to see what can I do. So part of it was knowing that I had my children that were watching me, trying to find a balance between being honest and open with them about my pain, but at the same time, not spewing any negativity on them about their father. That was very important to me. So I knew I had to find healing. So I went to grief and loss counseling. I had lost my mother 2 months before my husband walked out. So I had not really fully grieved the loss of my mom. And then he left. So it was a tremendous layer of loss. I went to grief and loss counseling, and I went twice a month for probably a year and a half. That was really part of my healing. Um, there were some bad choices that I made as well, which is still being active in church, thinking I'm gonna press on, push on, just keep going. When probably I think in hindsight, I should have sat back and allowed myself. I did heal, thankfully, but I think the process maybe would have been a little bit more efficient had I just raised my hand and say, you know what?
I'll have to sit this down.
Regina needs to sit herself down somewhere. Yes.
Yeah. It's good. That's good advice. It's good. Thank you for sharing that, because we all have those thoughts.
Yes.
You're not alone. You're not by yourself. And somebody somewhere, they're thinking those same thoughts that you thought. And they need to understand how to navigate those emotions, because some people are not going to go to counseling. I think we're very similar. My mother passed away 6 months prior to my ex leaving.
Really?
Yeah, 6 months. And so I was not healed from that. And then here we go. Now I got to grieve twice. And so that was hard. It was hard, very hard. And some days I didn't know if I was coming or if I was going. So I definitely understand that. So Regina, Breathe Again is a moment of hope, inspiration, and solutions. So we talk about what happened, but we really focus on how we move forward. So
Absolutely.
what was your breaking point? What was your breaking point that said, you knew without a shadow of a doubt that you were healed? What was that moment?
I think there were a couple of things. One was in my counseling process, allowing myself to face some facts that my hurt was not just associated with my husband leaving, but with my father leaving.
Are you about to have me pass out? You about to have me pass out? Are you my cousin?
And not just with him leaving, because my father was never very present in my life. So I had so the expectation that I had of men was not very high anyway. But coming to face me, so the healing part was about me. It no longer was about anyone else. And the litmus test for me was how I interacted now when I was around my children's father, and not even outwardly, Nicole. It was, what is your heart language like? Because there's times that we can act the part.
Yes, ma'am.
But truly our heart has not been healed. And my desire was for complete and total healing from the inside out. So that meant a lot more time of spending time with God for me as a woman of faith. In his word, I immersed myself in the word and worship, and tried to find communities to support as well.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good. What would you tell that sister right now if she was in front of you and she's hurting? She don't know which direction to go in, and she really feels that her world is over and it's about to end because that man left. How would you minister to that sister that's listening right now, or if she was in front of you?
She was in front of me, or for those that are listening, I think the first thing I would do is just grab her by her shoulders, and then I would pull her in so tight and just hug on her.
Yeah.
And I would tell her that I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you have to I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional.
Yeah. Because it's real. It's a real thing. And I think a lot of times we go back to that place and we go back to what we needed at that moment and what we
Oh
never
my
had at
gosh.
that moment. And so that's why I always say, I need to be to that next person what I never had. And so if that sister, that's why that emotion was so huge for you because
Yes, I remember.
yeah.
Listen, and I tell people all the time, sometimes you can go through this journey and allows it to be swept under the rug.
My God.
No one sees it. No one knows, but sometimes your life is already on the jumbotron. And
Yeah.
so I love to use the analogy that people pull up with their popcorn and their lawn chair,
Mm-hmm.
and they get to watch every facet of what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
So I would walk up to that sister, Nicole, and I would hug her. I would tell her, I'm so sorry that you're going through this. Um, I would encourage her to get counseling if she's not getting it. I would tell her that I see your tears and I see your pain. I see your midnight hour. I see when you want to scream. And then I would encourage her to scream, to get on
Yes.
the floor, to scream out to God, to go to allow the process to do what God is intending for it to do. Because on the other side of it,
Mm.
on the other side
Yes, ma'am.
is strength. And she may not, and the sister, you may not be able to see it now. You may not be able to feel it now, but you're going to be so much stronger on the other side.
Mm.
And that's just a little bit of what I would tell her. And
That's
then I would
beautiful.
probably hug her again and give her my number and tell her to call me if she wanted to.
I want to hug you right now, Regina.
Listen, I want to say though, I wish, I don't say I wish because I know that God's will is perfect. But man, Nicole, had you been around when I was going through this,
Yes, I
this,
get it.
this, 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 this space
Yeah.
is so necessary.
Mm.
And I
It
pray that
is.
God restores to you everything that you pour out.
Bless you. Bless you. I receive it. I receive it. Regina, that has been our time. God bless
Okay.
you so much for joining me today, but we're not going to stop there. I want you to talk a little bit about your business. So, you are
Okay.
a budding entrepreneur and you
I
have a
am.
business.
I
Tell us a little bit about your
do.
business. And
Yes. So my business was actually birthed out of my pain. The pain of my marriage, losing my mom and losing best friends. So the name of my business is called Love Transcending Time, and it's all about providing gifts of encouragement that encourage you along your journey. It gifts that should help you to reflect where you've been, because when you consider where you've been, it becomes the catalyst to help you on your next journey, right? Because our journeys don't stop. We will continue facing challenges. And um, so this was something that was given to me by God, and with the thought of something that is ubiquitous in your space, in your home,
yeah,
whatever, that will always remind you, Nicole, you can make it.
that's right.
Nicole, you made it through that. You can make it through something else. And so my business is all about encouraging people on their journey, helping them to navigate, helping them to reflect and to embrace it. As much as it hurts, embrace it right now. Live in this moment, feel what you have to feel, and it's going to become the catalyst for you to get over that next journey. And the basis for my scripture is in Joshua chapter 4, which is where they took the rocks and built the memorial so
Yeah,
they could remember what
yeah.
God had brought them through.
My God.
So
Reg-
that's what Love Transcending Time is about.
Regina, what's that website?
It's lovetranscendingtime.com.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome,
Yes.
awesome, awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. It has been my absolute pleasure.
After the pain, after the rain, after the shame, you will live again, you will dream again, you will breathe again, you will live again, dream again.